Our story begins with a broke young man, pockets empty but eyes burning with a strange gift. He could see the future of the markets, while his girlfriend walked away chasing greener pastures, and his own kin turned their backs, laughing at his dreams. He kept riding alone with only one true friend standing beside him. Day after day, number after number, he bet against the world, and the world lost. Coins stacked high. Zeros filled the screen, until that ragged boy turned into a tycoon, feared across the land, from rags to riches. And if you thought this was wild, hold your horses. The real ride starts now. On a busy city street, a guy is interviewing strangers. The question? What would you do if you suddenly had $70,000? 70 grand sounds nice. First guy he asks, a little chubby. Looks like he's never had a Tinder match in his life. His plan? Buy a car. Yeah. Aiming big there, champ. Next up, a couple. And instantly, you can tell who's in charge. The girlfriend. She says they'd save the money. Finally, the interviewer drops the big one. What would you do if you were the richest person in the world? Everyone freezes. One girl says she'd probably start enjoying life more. You know, like buying Starbucks without checking her bank balance first. Another girl says she'd want to know how she got rich before deciding what to do. Smart move. Now we're in a TV studio. A female host calls these interesting answers. Then she turns to the first Korean person to ever become the richest human alive. She wants to hear his grand vision. Everyone expects some genius who can see the future. Instead, he says, "I can't see the future." "Sure, buddy, and I don't eat cookies at 2 a.m. Suddenly, his eye glows. In the back of the room, there's an old woman holding a staff with an eagle perched on top. The bird takes off, glowing gold, and soars dramatically through the air. Our billionaire just smiles. The host tells him to focus. He finally says, "Honestly, I'm just a lucky investor." "Yeah, and my grandma's just a casual bingo player." Then, someone yells. He wakes up. It was all a dream. This is Kang Jin-ho, 23 years old, broke, unemployed, living in his mom's basement. So basically, an American college graduate. But life wasn't always like this. He had a dad who ran successful businesses, a mom as kind as a Disney character. Then, Dad went out to buy milk and never came back. Jin-ho visits his friend. The guy's room, packed with action figures, mid-tier stuff, worth a small fortune. His friend, Tak-woo, 23, glasses, owner of enough figurines to bankrupt a normal human. They talk about life after military service. Jin-ho says he wants to start working to help his mom. Tak-woo calls him a good son, which is true, especially since last Christmas, Tak-woo spent the evening with Jin-ho's mom, while Jin-ho was stuck in the army. Then, Tak-woo drops a bomb. He found the password to his old Bitcoin wallet. Jin-ho blinks. Wait, what Bitcoin? Turns out, back when they played an online game called Ruta, Tak-woo sold all his in-game items to buy Bitcoin, then promptly lost the password. He casually says he had 1,120 Bitcoins. Jin-ho does the math, slowly, and finally realizes that's nearly $9 million. Tak-woo says it's so much money, he doesn't even know how to feel. Meanwhile, Jin-ho's already asking for a cut, but Tak-woo refuses. He's holding on to it because he thinks Bitcoin's about to go even higher. Then, it happens. Jin-ho sees the same golden eagle from his dream. It flies past the window, glowing, and flaming words appear in midair. Mountain Hill will collapse. He asks Tak-woo if that name means anything. Tak-woo says, "Yeah, that's the exchange where my Bitcoin is stored." Jin-ho flips. "Sell everything, now." Tak-woo hesitates, but eventually agrees. His sister already set up an account for the transfer. Seconds later, the exchange's servers crash. He barely sold in time. When the servers come back, every account is wiped clean. The internet is in chaos. Tak-woo stares at his friend. "How did you know?" Jin-ho shrugs. "Maybe I can see the future." Which is exactly how you make people not believe you. A year ago, back into Division 10 during mortar training, one of the guys tells Jin-ho to quit spacing out and actually pay attention. Looking a little lost, he says he understands, but then, boom, that same golden eagle from before shows up again. And this thing is not your average bird, it looks like it just flew straight out of a Marvel movie trailer. It soars past him, and when he mentions it to the guys around him, they all give him that, "Dude, you're crazy" face. Then right in front of him, glowing words appear. Kanam 188 explosion. He's thinking, is that like a training code or something? And then he notices a 188mm mortar is being prepped to fire. Before he can even ask, it launches, but with way less force than it should. That's when Jinhoo learns something important. When humans face the real possibility of dying, they don't think. They just react. He yells for everyone to hit the ground, and the whole area explodes like a Michael Bay movie marathon. Fast forward to the present. Otaku says it's honestly a miracle Jinhoo survived. Jinhoo explains some people didn't make it that day, but thanks to his weird eagle premonition, he walked away without a scratch. When he tried to tell people, they said it was just trauma messing with his head. Otaku, using all his infinite gamer wisdom, says, if it's happened twice perfectly, that's basically a superpower. Jinhoo says, maybe, but how do you even prove that? Otaku says it's all about mental fortitude. Even if a gorgeous girl appeared out of thin air, he'd believe it. Jinhoo tells him to focus on something more realistic, like the 1.24 billion won he's supposed to be getting. Out of his 11,000 bitcoins, 1,000 were thanks to Jinhoo's in-game character, so he'd better get his cut, or Jinhoo's going to set fire to every single one of Otaku's collectible action figures. Otaku says no problem, but there's the issue of taxes. Jinhoo immediately asks if this sneaky little weasel is setting up a tax haven. You sending the money to Arabia to dodge the Korean tax man? Otaku panics, because Jinhoo just guessed his entire plan. Then Jinhoo drops the bomb. Yeah, it's not like I majored in economics for nothing. Turns out Otaku's sister has been helping him with the rules, and apparently Korea's Bitcoin taxes are brutal. That's why he's setting up a company on an island called Delaware. The initials? OTA. Otaku says it's the perfect name, and with his company and the cash, he can live comfortably. He promises Jinhoo he'll send over the 1.24 billion once everything's settled. So on the very day Jinhoo finishes military service, the money hits his account. Well, at least some of it. He only takes 500 million won at first. Otaku says it's way too early to celebrate, especially since even with the tax haven, once the money transfers, the government still takes at least 20%. But now, Jinhoo's got his first $500 million, and the other 740 million is safely stored. He's just sitting there, totally at peace, thinking, if this is a dream, please don't wake me up. First priority? Tell his mom to work less and maybe get her some nice clothes at the mall. But then, he spots a crowd forming. As he gets closer, someone's yelling about reporting a woman to the owner and making her kneel down. Another woman in a coat is screaming about how expensive her shoes are and how someone just ruined them. And Jinhoo's thinking, oh great, here we go again. So, picture this. The security guard in front of this woman is practically bowing from all the apologizing. She spins around to the woman behind her and demands she kneel. Judging by Jinhoo's face, I'd bet a squadron of baseballs. Yep, that's his mom. Next panel confirms it. Mom and the other woman are both furious. The woman's pointing at her shoe like it's the Holy Grail, saying she's going to make mom clean it. The guard's sweating bullets, telling the janitor to say something. Jinhoo's confused. His mom always told him she worked at a call center. Now he's getting mad, just as mom starts kneeling. The legend arrives. Saving your mom? Way better than saving an alley cat, for crying out loud. He looks at the woman and asks why she's making such a big deal over something so small, and making someone kneel over it. Mom looks away, embarrassed. The woman, hands on her hips, says, "What, are you her son or something?" Jinhoo just goes, "Yeah, I am." But then Mom flips the script. She says she's never seen this guy before in her life. Usually it's the kid pretending they're not related. But nope, Jinhoo just got reverse carded. He asks if she seriously thought he'd ever be ashamed of her. Now the crowd's whispering, unsure if she's actually his mom. Jinhoo turns back to the shoe lady and says, "All right, explain yourself." She claims the janitor touched her shoe with a mop. Everyone's recording now. He asks if this whole mess is really over that. She doubles down, asking if he has any idea how much the shoes cost. Big mistake. He pulls out 600,000 won, about 450 bucks, and says, "Here, take it and disappear. But if you want the money, you apologize to my mom. Otherwise, leave empty-handed." People are murmuring. Taking the money now would be humiliating. Jinwoo smirks and says, or I can just throw the cash on the floor and you can crawl for it. Now she's flustered. She mutters an apology, scanning the crowd for cameras, then snatches the cash and starts counting. Jinwoo calls for her manager. He says she'd better leave barefoot, because he just bought the shoes off her feet. If she refuses, he'll report her for theft. She freezes, stunned. He ignores her and walks off with Mom. The woman's yelling, "Stop being stingy, you're not even gonna wear them." He shrugs. "Of course not. I'm throwing them in the trash." She screams. A fight breaks out, and next thing we know, they're outside. Mom says he should go back and smooth things over, but he just hugs her, saying it's fine. He's more concerned about why she's lost so much weight. She thinks he's pitying her for her job and says this was a one-time incident. Jinwoo tells her from now on, she's done with jobs like this. He'll take care of her. She looks so happy, saying he's grown up. Then she asks where he got the money. He says, "Sold a game account with my friend Otaku." Right then, his phone rings. A plane's landing. A badass woman steps out. That's Otaku's sister. At the hotel, nobody's acting shy. Everyone's staring. A car covered in Otaku stickers pulls up. Obviously, it's Jinwoo and the legend himself, Otaku. They're here to pick her up from the airport. Walking through the hotel, a friend comments the kid's bold for driving a car like that. Then, a throat clears. And there she is. Tight skirt, killer presence. She greets them both, says it's nice to see the protagonist too. At a cafe, she asks if he's done with military service. He says yes. She says he should work at Golden Gate with her. Jinwoo says, if an international company like that would hire me, I'd be there in a heartbeat. Then she gets quiet. He asks if something's wrong. She turns to Otaku and asks what happened to the money. She heard the company holding it went bankrupt. The bastard smirks and says he sold everything just in time, even transferred it to his company's account. She exhales in relief, thinking she almost had to watch her brother lose 11 billion won. She slides a paper across the table, a contact for the guy who handles Golden Gate's big transfers. Says if they ever need to bring a lot of money into the country, he's the one to call. Then she asks why they sold everything at once instead of little by little. Jinwoo shrugs, says it just felt right. Then he asks if she missed him. She flatly says no. She's here for business and will be in town 10 days. He thinks that's way too long, but she reassures him she's staying at the hotel, company covering everything. As she leaves, she waves goodbye. Jinwoo mutters that she always scares him. Just then, she gets a call. Meeting with a company called OPEC. She knows they deal with oil and that kind of stuff. Suddenly, Jinwoo's eyes change. The eagle appears again, soaring above him. He's getting used to it now. The vision shows. OPEC is about to cut production costs. He snaps back from his blank stare, saying he just got distracted for a second. He asks, "So, what's this big meeting about?" She says they're discussing production cost cuts, and Jinwoo has the same look we all have when someone explains taxes. Pure confusion. The US, even though it's one of the biggest oil producers, still burns through it like there's no tomorrow, mostly for wars. Then came shale gas, and suddenly America's not just making enough for itself, it's exporting too. The problem? If oil barrels in Korea drop below $50 each, a ton of companies will go belly up. Right now, barrels are at 60 and companies are already sweating bullets. That's why this meeting matters. Survival mode. Jinwoo asks, "Okay, but what happens if they make a deal?" She says if they agree, prices will skyrocket. Billionaires will throw a party, and regular people will just cry at the gas pump. She narrows her eyes. "Why do you care all of a sudden?" Jinwoo shrugs. "No reason. I just think it'd be kinda cool if it happened." She admits she agrees, but forecasts say it's unlikely. Fast forward, they're stuck in traffic in Otaku's car. Jinwoo's deep in thought. If this vision is right, he could buy a ton of oil barrels now, sell later, and rake in serious profit. Sure, it sounds insane, but then again, so did predicting a mortar explosion, and he nailed that one. Problem is, how much to invest? He's already set aside 100 million won for his mom, leaving $275,000 for himself. Oh, and there's $740 million in Otako's foreign account? Suddenly, Otako asks, "It happened again, didn't it?" Jinwoo freezes. Apparently, staring at the ceiling like a malfunctioning Roomba gives it away. Damn it! This guy notices everything. Otako pushes him to spill, and Jinwoo finally explains the plan. They check current prices, $60 a barrel. Otako's got 12 million won, ready? Jinwoo? Just 600,000. He says he'll put in 300,000, but Otako scoffs. That's cute. He's planning to drop 10 million. Jinwoo stares at him. You've lost your damn mind. Otako offers to drop it to 5 million. Still too high. Finally, Otako declares, I don't bet less than 3 million. Jinwoo sighs. The man clearly skipped the day they taught risk management. If it's that or nothing, Jinwoo just throws in the towel. He stops trying to talk Otako out of it. And honestly, the barrel price has already dropped a fair bit. Worst case, they take a small loss. Still, dropping 3.3 billion won on something you're not even sure about? Yeah, terrifying. But hey, fortune favors the bold, right? Jinwoo clicks a few buttons and boom, the order's in. Now all they can do is wait for the big OPEC meeting. No stress at all, right? By some stroke of luck, Jinwoo manages to rent an apartment for $80,000. At least the place is nicer than he expected. His mom is thrilled. 2 bedrooms, higher floor, and now they can watch the sunrise together. She's all sentimental about it. And for Jinwoo, just hearing her sound that happy makes it worth every penny. While unpacking, his mom suddenly goes quiet. She's holding something from one of the boxes. Old belongings of his father. Over the years, as they moved into smaller and smaller homes, there was no space to keep these things out. Okay, now I feel bad about all those dad went out for milk jokes. Turns out the poor guy didn't run off. He just passed away. She's holding a photo of a house his dad worked hard to build for them. After he died, they had no money left, so they probably had to sell it. Jinwoo asks if she still thinks about his dad. She says, of course. He worked so hard just to die like that. If only he'd lived a little longer, he could have seen days like this. She starts crying, then quietly excuses herself, telling Jinwoo to finish setting up his room. Looking around the kitchen, Jinwoo realizes they need new furniture and appliances. When he sees his mom carrying another box, he tells her to stop and hands her a bank card. There's 100 million won on it, about 70,000 US dollars, which is slightly more impressive than 56 cents. She immediately smacks him, telling him not to just hand out money like it's candy. She reassures him she's saved up plenty and doesn't need it, but he insists, think of it as me taking care of you for once. After paying for the apartment, giving money to his mom, and covering expenses, Jinwoo's left with 275 million won. In theory, enough to relax for the next few years. But let's be real, he's not the sit-still type. Later, Otako shows up at the new place, carrying a mountain of stuff. Jinwoo thinks it's Korean black bean noodles, but no, it's giant packs of toilet paper. Toilet paper. For a housewarming gift. What is this? The apocalypse. They start talking about that bankrupt company from earlier. Total disaster. Everyone who invested? Gone. Their bitcoins? Poof, like magic but without the fun. The company declared bankruptcy, and now the cops and banks are chasing them like it's a Netflix crime documentary. Otako says the fact that Jinwoo predicted the collapse perfectly is insane. Jinwoo just shrugs. Coincidence? But Otako isn't buying it. Jinwoo asks what it is. Otako slams his hand on the table and says, your power only works during a crisis. That's how heroes are born. Then he proudly announces that Jinwoo has the Oracle Eye. This idiot is out here naming superpowers like they're in a comic book. He tells Otako to stop with the nicknames and focus on the OPEC meeting, because if this goes wrong, they're going to lose a ton of money. Otako stays calm, saying, nah, it's fine. You've got the Oracle Eye. Next day, he shows up at Jinwoo's place because the results are about to drop. Jinwoo feels like he's stuck in an eternal suspense scene, except instead of dramatic music, it's just awkward silence. Prices have already dropped 3% since the meeting began. That's $70,000 straight into the abyss. Jinwoo asks if Otako's still calm. Otako grins. I'm not scared. I trust the Oracle Eye. To distract himself, Jinwoo starts gaming with him. But the nerd only plays dating simulators with overly attractive anime girls. Meanwhile, their money keeps dropping, but Jinwoo stays stoic. Losing 100,000 wouldn't ruin his life. But still, that's a scary amount. He dozes off. Suddenly, Otako screams. The OPEC results are in. Every news outlet is reporting they reached an agreement to reduce production. Otako checks the price. It's already at $73. Within minutes, oil prices shoot up 20%. Jinwoo instantly tells Otako to check their account and sell right now because he's got zero premonitions about what happens next. Otako obeys, and a little while later they're counting profits. Life's a lot easier when you have a built-in money cheat code. Together, they've made $630,000. Jinwoo only gets $66,000 since he invested way less, which he thinks is totally unfair. Otako brags that if he'd gone all in with $10 million, he'd be rich enough to buy a yacht and maybe an island. But the money isn't even the point anymore. This was the third time. 3. Jinwoo's ability to see the future is real. Sitting there, he starts wondering, do we actually have hero-level powers? In the movies, this is exactly how it starts. Picture a big jacked hero sprinting around, kicking butt and dropping villains. Problem is, in a modern world without street brawls, muscle is kinda obsolete. Machines can do all that now. But the ability to see the future? That's untouchable. Not even the most powerful computers can match it. So of course Otaku asks, can you predict everything? Sports scores? Accidents? If it worked like that, it'd be insane. But Jinwoo just wants to know when this started and why. As much as he's a lovable idiot, Otaku has a point. It began with the mortar accident, when Jinwoo was about to die, which suggests his ability triggers in emergencies. Otaku's already scheming. While talking, Otaku notes the first vision hit during Bitcoin, the second while talking to his sister. He spins in his chair and asks what happened after the accident. Jinwoo explains it turned into a huge scandal. The malfunction came from corruption and cheap, low-quality materials. The companies involved got hammered in the stock market. Otaku grins. So it was financial anyway. In this world, everything connects to money sooner or later. Sometime later, Otaku finally makes the obvious offer. Jinwoo uses his power to peek at the future, and Otaku supplies the cash. Fair deal. Investing 600,000 won is nothing next to 10,000. Plus, if it fails, Otaku eats the loss and they still split profits on wins. It sounds almost too good. But there's one snag. Even if the power is real, it might not be 100% accurate. Jinwoo starts raising concerns. Otaku, high on greed and caffeine, waves him off. If your power's real, we can get stupid rich. He's sitting on 13,000 won to invest. All Jinwoo has to do is shake his hand and they dive into the market. Jinwoo hesitates, stares at Otaku's outstretched hand, and asks, deadpan, and what if I don't shake your ugly hand? Otaku's hands suddenly start glowing, like he's either unlocking ancient magic or he just grabbed a radioactive glow stick. He declares in his most dramatic anime voice, then we shall never meet again. Now come, my friend, join me in the world of the rich. Jinwoo is literally shaking, and not from the magic, but from secondhand embarrassment. Suddenly, his phone rings. It's someone named Minan, inviting him out for drinks in Hongdae. Jinwoo casually asks, is Khan going to be there? When Minan says yes, Jinwoo immediately replies, I'm definitely coming. Then he turns to Otaku, like a man who's seen the light and says, got new plans. Be back later. World record. He abandons poor Otaku in the room in under 15 seconds. Arriving at the bar, a few guys immediately call out, Sergeant Kang. Jinwoo smiles, saying he's just a reserve now. His friend wastes no time introducing the real reason he called him over. And here it is. The only way this future-seeing investor could ever go broke is sitting right in front of him. Another name? Shin Yuri. And right beside her is Juong Jai, their walking danger sign. Jinhoo's survival rate? Dropping fast. He's already reaching for a drink. Turns out he's looking for someone named Khan, but his friend says Khan's running late. The guy then asks if Jinhoo's going back to college next year. Jinhoo says he's thinking about it. Now that the house is paid for and money isn't a problem, maybe graduating quickly is the smart move. Yuri stands up, raising her glass. "It's an honor to serve you, senior," she says, all elegance and flair. She takes a sip like she's auditioning for a wine commercial. Then she raises the glass again when Jinhoo compliments her drinking skills. Little show-off. That's when someone new walks in. Jung Khan, Jinhoo's senior from the military. Jinhoo wants one of the girls to serve him while they talk business. His friend mentions that 4 companies are merging into one giant corporation. Problem is, mergers mean layoffs. Jinhoo asks what his friend will do if he gets fired. The guy says he's already looking into investments. Several bottles later, the guy starts declaring, "There are no good investors in this country, only good entrepreneurs." He says the city needs someone bold, with serious capital, to make real moves. Meanwhile, Yuri is secretly taking pictures under the table. The clueless guy next to her finally asks what she's doing. She smiles innocently and says she was supposed to meet a friend, but since she's here instead, she's just going to call that friend over. Then she says the name, Sia. The whole bar goes quiet. Jinhoo starts sweating like a man about to get audited. Either this girl is way more dangerous than she looks, or something's about to go down. Too late to stop it. She's already on her way. And here she comes, in a short black skirt, and okay, maybe not as scary as Yuri, but still. Jinhoo's survival chances just dropped another 20%. She spots him instantly. Kang Jinhoo. First time they've seen each other since they broke up. Yep, this is the ex. So our boy isn't just a lucky investor. He was already dating before the mana even started. Bastard. A few seconds later, it's just the two of them at the table. She leans in and says, "It's been 2 years since they last saw each other." Jinhoo nods, says he's been doing well, and asks if she's happy with that senior guy. She smiles and says yes, they are. Turns out she's dating Go Jung-young now. Yep, our boy lost to the GY King. Honestly, the guy looks more like her brother than her boyfriend, but whatever. And here's the kicker. This GY King isn't just anyone. Nope, he's the 3rd son of a rich corporate tycoon. And right after she dumped Jinhoo while he was heading into military service, she started dating him. Cold. Our boy really had her during his bad phase. She apologizes for breaking up with him when life got hard. Jinhoo, trying to play it cool, says, "It's fine, it's in the past." She says, "Since the beginning, I always liked you a lot." Jinhoo's already suspicious. She hasn't even made a sad face yet. He asks what she means. She says it might sound weird, but she's always liked him because he radiates confidence, and that's what she loved most about him. Jinhoo shoots back, "Then why'd you break up with me?" She just shrugs. Obviously, she took the opportunity when it came. The opportunity to date a rich guy. She adds that she couldn't miss her chance to achieve her dreams. And apparently, that dream is marrying rich. Jinhoo, now fully invested in this disaster, asks what she means by that. She gets up awkwardly, says she's leaving. But Jinhoo isn't letting this go. "What do you mean by your dream?" She just gives him one look, then walks away, thinking to herself that her dream is to be successful. Jinhoo slumps back in his chair like a piece of human trash. 2 years ago, before his father's funeral even happened, their house was taken away. All his relatives turned their backs on him, and she broke up with him before he could even grieve. He was shipped off to the military, leaving his mother alone to survive. Brutal. Not many people could have made it through that. But recently, everything changed. His investments paid off, and his first big success was in oil trading. Now he's sitting there wondering, what exactly is success anyway? Right then, the eagle appears in front of him. Jinhoo even jokes, "You here for a drink, little guy?" But as always, the creature just takes flight. Then he sees the message, and his eyes light up. This This is his future. And of course, the damn author won't tell us what it says. But judging by Jinhoo's face, it's good news. Next thing we know, he's at Otaku's house, waking him up like a man on a mission. Otaku groans. "What do you want?" Jinhoo, hyped out of his mind, says, "I want success." No way. No way he's still hung up on that boring ex-Sia. Shin Yuri is 10 times better. Morning hits, and the hangover kicks in. That's why they say drinking is basically stealing happiness from your future self. Don't drink, kids. Otaku, being a true friend, orders him a burger to help him recover. My God, is this what an American diet looks like? A burger for breakfast? Bold move. Obviously, Otaku wants to know what happened last night. Jinhoo just shrugs. I don't remember. Now, is he lying? Or was he actually so drunk that his brain hit the factory reset button? Otaku starts roasting him immediately. Says he came home all hyped, yelling about seeing something important. Jinhoo sighs. All right, I'll explain. He asks, Otaku, have you ever invested in anything before? Otaku scoffs. Of course not. Meanwhile, Jinhoo actually studied finance in college and was part of investment groups. But when he started investing for real, he only had 1 million won to work with, and lost almost all of it. They pool their money together and realize they now have 13 billion won. That's more money than most people will ever see in their lifetime. So, when are we investing? Jinhoo raises an eyebrow. Why is a guy with 13 billion even thinking about investing? Otaku fires back with a flawless response. The more money you have, the better. I want more. Yeah, just a little greedy. His friend then asks what Jinhoo plans to do with the money. Jinhoo says he's waiting to invest. He needs a vision first. If the eagle doesn't show up, he's not doing anything. He's not an idiot. And based on what his friend said, he needs to see more finance-related stuff to increase the odds of triggering his ability. So over the next few days, he's reading endless economic articles, watching stock trends, basically bathing in boring financial news. The problem? Public information is useless. By the time people say something will go up, it's already up. And when they say it'll go down, yeah, it's already tanked. Otaku suggests maybe it's time they make a contract. Split everything 50-50. They sign it. Let's just hope our boy read the fine print. Jinhoo's heading out to grab a coffee, but Otaku tells him there's no coffee left. At that same moment, Jinhoo's phone rings. A woman's voice on the other end asks, Is this Jinhoo? He says, Yeah. And just like that, Jinhoo remembers her. The orange-haired bombshell. He walks in. She stands up, smiling like they're in a toothpaste commercial, and tells him to sit across from her. Yeah. So much for that cozy, sit next to me, K-drama fantasy. She thanks him for coming, even though she called him out of nowhere. She notices him staring. Why are you looking at me like that? He smirks. You live like one of those K-pop idols, doing dance covers online. She fixes her hair, clearly flustered. So, does that mean I'm pretty? Yeah. She walked right into that one. They keep chatting, and he finds out she's from Shinum, which basically means she's filthy rich. Man of few words, Jinhoo immediately asks, So, why'd you call me? Then suddenly she says she wants a favor. Jinhoo sits up. Why is she acting shy? Is she about to confess? Should he reject her? Accept? Too late. She's way too pretty to say no to. The big reveal? She just wants help buying a new phone because she's afraid of getting scammed. Jinhoo agrees but admits he's not exactly tech support guy. She says just having him there is enough. Internally, he's thinking Otaku would have been perfect for this. That guy buys every gadget on the planet. At the phone store, Yuri immediately asks for a Samsung L6. The store clerk starts explaining all the features while Jinhoo just sits there thinking, wow, buying a phone these days is a full-time job. He wasn't even needed there, so he wanders off and picks up the L6. He remembers that before the military, the latest model was only the L3. And that's when it happens. The eagle shows up, soaring right over him. This time, the message reads, L6 discontinued. He frowns. It's obvious what it means. The phone's getting discontinued. But hey, maybe there's more to it. Yuri notices him zoning out. "What are you staring at?" she asks. Jinhoo blinks. "Oh, a mosquito flew by." Smooth. Real smooth. On the way home, she says she almost bought the gold one, but went with blue instead. Jinhoo casually says, "Yeah, it looks nice, but it's going to be discontinued soon." She frowns. He freezes. Oh, great. He was thinking it so much, he actually said it out loud. He quickly covers by saying he's gotta go, and bolts. Jinhoo dips out of the cafe, waving goodbye like he's late for a Netflix audition. Yuri watches him go, thinking, "Wow, that was fast. At least let me buy you a sandwich, dude." Meanwhile, back at Otaku's place, Jinhoo bursts through the door yelling his friend's name like a sitcom entrance. "Bro, the AMC and J6, he starts, pointing dramatically at Otaku's phone. "That thing's getting discontinued." Otaku blinks, confused, like someone just told him pineapple belongs on pizza. See, Samsung has a ton of phone models, and the L6 is one of their best sellers. But in the premium market, it's still losing to Apple, and Apple hasn't even bitten the apple yet. Lately, though, Samsung's been dominating thanks to the L5 and L6. The L5 sold 50 million units. The L6 expected to smash 70 million. Huge. Global. Hit. So why would they kill it? Otaku wonders if it's a patent issue. I mean, each phone has over 200,000 patents involved. Jinhoo shakes his head. Even if Samsung lost a patent battle, they'd just write a check. This is a company that's been making phones since the early 2000s. They basically own half the patents in the game. So now the mystery is, why will the L6 be discontinued? And when? They brainstorm. Time passes. Then, in the middle of the night, Otaku suddenly screams like a horror movie extra. His phone exploded. No joke, he was gaming, left it charging, and now the thing is literally smoking. And he bought it last week. This is less smartphone and more pocket grenade. Instantly, they both realize. This is why the L6 will be discontinued. The next morning, 3 days since launch, reports start coming in about L6 units going boom. Samsung? Downplaying it, of course. Technically, one phone in a million exploding is normal. But here, it's 1 in 10,000. Yeah, way too frequent for comfort. Strangely, sales aren't even slowing down yet. Otaku's just happy they cracked the mystery. But Jinhoo's thinking, how do we make money off this? This isn't like buying oil barrels or moving cash around. They'll need to wait, watch the market, and pounce at the right moment. The next day, a Samsung rep shows up and replaces Otaku's phone. But there's a catch. Customers aren't allowed to post about it online. Sneaky, very sneaky. Otaku notices something. The rep wasn't even surprised by the damage, which means this is happening a lot. And here's the thing. People practically live with their phones glued to their hands. If it's not safe, or worse, it's a literal hand grenade, that's game over for the product. No way Samsung keeps making it. Which means a massive financial hit is coming, especially if Samsung has to refund all those sales. Jinhoo's thinking, okay, how do we cash in on this mess? Otaku leans in like he's about to teach stock market for dummies. Jinhoo nods, but he's already thinking ahead. So, all we need is the perfect moment to pounce, and asking Otaku's sister for help? Forget it. She'd sooner block their number than let them gamble 13 billion on a hunch. But Otaku grins. Don't worry, I know a guy. Some call him a weirdo, others a genius. Truth is, there are two kinds of geniuses. The kind who are good at everything, and the kind who are amazing at one thing and useless at the rest. Guess which one he is? This guy grew up in Australia, moved to Korea later, and was a math prodigy. Somewhere between algebra and calculus, he fell in love with investing. And when I say love, I mean full-blown addiction. One of his first investments, 500,000 won, turned into 5 million. Sure, he lost money sometimes, but overall, he was killing it. By the time Jinhoo met him, he had 300 million to play with. Only problem? No big capital. If he'd started with more, he'd be sitting on 6 billion today. Then, the streak ended. He saw a chemical battery company. Logo looked suspiciously like LG's. Thought the stock was undervalued, expected it to double. But then, disaster. An accident tanked the company, and his fortune went up in smoke. Broke or not, he refused to sell. Convinced it would recover? It didn't. Turns out he'd been trading binary options. If he'd just bought the stock outright, none of this would have happened. Now we're at a restaurant. Here he is, the great investor. He looks like he hasn't left the house in weeks. Jinhoo introduces Otaku and asks how he's been since dropping out of college after the meltdown. The guy sighs, says he's been driving for Uber and just trying to survive. After losing everything, he finally learned, even a single one has value. Jinhoo gets weirdly emotional. This man's lost it all. And somehow he's still here. An inspiration. So, why exactly did you drag me out here? Jinhoo leans forward. I'm thinking futures trading. Jinhoo explains, basically, you promised that in 5 days you'll buy this stock for 50,000 won. The seller agrees. No matter what happens, you've got to pay 50,000, and he has to sell. If the price jumps to 100,000, congrats. You just made a killing. If it drops to, say, 51 won, you're basically paying steakhouse prices for a gas station hot dog. They crunch some numbers. Jinhoo figures that if everything goes perfectly, he could make 900 billion. Sang-up stares at him like he's just announced he's going to open a theme park on the moon. You're insane. That's never happening. Sang-up waves it off. L6 just launched. Massive hit. No way this crashes. Jinhoo just smirks. It's gonna get discontinued. Sang-up guesses it's the explosions. Jinhoo plays it safe. Maybe. But you can't be 100% sure. Sang-up warns him, be careful, or you'll end up like me, broke, screwed, and debating if ramen counts as a vegetable. With that, he waves goodbye. Now Jinhoo's got all he needs. Decision time. Buy high and rake in a fortune, or wait for the drop and settle for smaller gains. He's convinced the price will drop at least 10%, maybe 20%, since it already spiked 10% with the L6 launch. News outlets are starting to whisper about the exploding phones. These two maniacs? Already pulling up their trading screens like it's game day. Jinhoo slams the enter key. Not sure how much they invested, but the account now shows only 800 million left. If they just dumped all 12 billion in, they're either financial geniuses or contestants on Who Wants to Go Bankrupt. Jinhoo's suddenly not feeling so brave. And then, the nightmare. The next day, Samsung stock jumps 8%. His futures bet? Absolute disaster. He's about to lose everything. Jinhoo sips his drink, pretending not to notice Otaku's face, which now looks like he just watched his favorite anime get cancelled. Looks like Samsung's covering up the explosions pretty well. Replacement phones are rolling out at lightning speed. Confidence? Yeah, fading fast. But hey, the eagle gave him the vision, right? Park asks if Samsung will announce the discontinuation tomorrow. Jinhoo shrugs. I hope so. Next day, the Samsung CEO steps up to the mic. He addresses the battery issue, apologizes, and instead of killing the model, announces they'll replace 6 million units for free. For Jinhoo, this is catastrophic. Public opinion flips positive overnight. I mean, free replacements for millions of phones? Even the haters have to admit, that's pretty classy. Plus, they could just swap the batteries in the returned phones, ship them off to poorer countries, and call it recycling. This company just proved exactly how meticulous the giants of the industry are. Otaku's pacing the room like a man whose favorite snack just got discontinued. Of the 12 billion they had, 6 billion is gone. And now, Jinhoo's unfair contract is weighing on him like a bowling ball in his stomach. No, it's worse. He's making his friend lose 6 billion, since his own share was much smaller. That night, Jinhoo lies in bed, staring at the ceiling. With 6 billion, someone could live a luxury life forever. Even burning through 100 million per month. You'd still be fine. But they lost it in one single day. And now, To recover from a 50% loss, they'd need to make a 100% profit. If the situation doesn't turn around before their futures bet expires, those billions will vanish like socks in a dryer. Jinhoo's suffocating under his own fear. Otaku? He can't sleep either. They both wake up in the middle of the night, go out for drinks. Might as well start practicing for being broke. They're basically cosplaying as homeless guys, preparing for the depressing future ahead. And of course, the classic drama begins. I told you not to invest. No, I believed in your power. Time passes. Samsung recovers. The phones, both new ones and the replacements, are actually making customers happy. The stock keeps climbing. Of the original 13 billion, only 3.6 remains. Luckily, they tossed some cash into normal stocks, or they'd be on the street selling inspirational quotes for bus fare. Otaku leans against the window, waving goodbye to the 13 billion. Fly away, my beautiful money. Jinhoo's no longer comfortable either. He's already down 600 million. And now, only 1 week remains before the futures contract expires. If nothing happens, it's over. He remembers Sang-up warning him, "Don't invest in this. You'll end up broke like me." Jinhoo buries his face in his hands. Did he misunderstand the vision, or just analyze it wrong? Then the scene shifts. On a plane, a man is spraying a fire extinguisher on the floor. Nearby, someone's head is bleeding. A Samsung phone just exploded. Oh my god. But wait, it's just a dream. Damn it, you can't just show me that then go, haha, dream sequence. But now Jinhoo's clutching his head. His eye is glowing. He's got a headache. Oh, so it's actually a vision. The plane ticket on the floor says December 9th. That's 4 days away. Jinhoo immediately tells Otaku. That's the deadline before everything unfolds. If his power's real, they have nothing to worry about. Otaku checks Samsung's stock. Everything still looks normal. But Jinhoo, in full poetic drama mode, mutters, "Nothing is over until everything is over." Then, breaking news. Some Samsung batteries are exploding again. A contact point inside the phone is causing fires. Boom. The headline hits. Samsung phone explodes mid-flight. Passenger. Just like that, the L6 phone is officially banned from flights. Next thing you know, the stock market opens and Samsung shares drop harder than my Wi-Fi during a Zoom meeting. 10% down. Experts, of course, pop up like they're reading off a script. This is the perfect time to buy more Samsung stock. Yeah. Sure, Brenda. You buy it. I'll just watch. Cut to Samsung's big executive meeting. The vice president strolls in, probably wishing he could call in sick. Everyone's freaking out about exploding batteries and injured passengers. One exec says, "Let's just replace the phones again." Another says, "Public opinion is already toast." Then a so-called strategist chimes in. "We should do another recall." Great idea. If your business plan is called Operation Bankruptcy. The vice president sits there thinking, what would dad do? The man who built the company passed it to his dad, who then passed it to him. Because apparently, we're doing weakest nepotism in Korea speedruns now. He looks around, sees a model ship on the table, and remembers the ship of Theseus. If you replace every single piece of a ship over time, is it still the same ship? Or is it basically an IKEA starter pack now? Same with Samsung. Original employees? All gone. Original ideas? Questionable. Finally, he grows a spine and says, "We're discontinuing the L6. Full refunds for everyone. Or if you want, you can swap it for another product. Probably one that doesn't try to barbecue your pocket." Yeah, that's not just losing current money. That's kissing future profits goodbye. But he slams the table and says, "Money we can make again. Trust we can't." The announcement goes out at 1:40 p.m. "My phone is busted, guys. We're pulling it from the market." The internet, stunned. Then, celebration. The cursed phone is dead. Investors? Not celebrating. Stocks tank harder than Blockbuster in 2010. Biggest drop since 2008. Then, plot twist. An investment firm notices something weird. Somebody made a massive bet against Samsung and walked away with a profit margin of almost 1,000 times. They trace it back to Golden Gate, using Yu's sister's firm. Billions invested out of nowhere. Everyone's panicking, asking, who the heck did this? Meanwhile, cut to our two clowns, sitting there grinning like they just discovered free pizza for life, watching Samsung stock melt in real time. Their risky bet? Up over 1,000%. Their safe bet? Up 21%. They just stare at the computer, glowing in the blue light. Probably already Googling how to buy an island. Silence in the room. The number keeps rising. 3,800 profit, bro. At this point, could they buy Korea? And then, boom, they completely lose it. Screaming, throwing stuff in the air, pure chaos. In the world of investments, one person's gain is another person's guess I'm eating ramen for a month. This time, the world's disaster became their blessing. Their money has now grown to 685 billion won. That's about 470 million US dollars. Damn. And to think Elon Musk has like 800 times that amount. Bastard. But whatever. These two are now multi-billionaires, and obviously, they cash out immediately. No risks, no waiting. Otaku just stares at his tablet, watching those insane numbers. Jinhoo nods slowly. Yeah, I didn't even know numbers could have this many zeros.